Hello everyone, hope you're doing well. It's time to talk about the MiG-21 BIS. The MiG-21 BIS is in the game in many forms nowadays, but I decided to play the Russian one. This is the first BIS I've actually played, and I've got to say, the experience was very much a boom or bust one a lot of the time, and this really shouldn't be surprising for the BR that it's at right now, which is 11.0, which is one of those BRs which is slightly volatile. Not because of 11.0, 11.0 itself is very stable, but because of 11.7, because of 12.0, and also because of 10.7 and 10.3. So the BIS either gets into matchmaking, which is incredibly strong for it, or it gets into matchmaking, which is incredibly weak for it. And unfortunately, a lot of the time, you get into the weak stuff, because that is the powerful things right now. I have no idea why they haven't moved up the F-14s, especially the A, which still sits at 11.7, by the way, which is just nuts, especially when it comes to fighting a vehicle like this. The MiG-21 BIS is good at one thing, and pretty much one thing only: going fast and being able to fire missiles in jousts or fire missiles in an IR capacity and then get out of dodge super quickly. It doesn't do the semi-active role, it does not do the active role, and its radar is too weak to really be able to do anything. The radar is the Sapphire 21. This radar might be one of the weakest that I've ever used in terms of around this BR bracket. It has a pretty terrible search zone and not really anything of worth. The only thing it can do is obviously lock targets if there isn't a lot of issues with, where the plane is, and you can use it to fire R3Rs. Don't bother with this. The R3Rs is a death sentence at this BR. It's basically like jousting if one person has a gun and you have, I don't even know, like a very, very small stick. The R3R is a missile which at 11.0 is completely worthless, especially when you compare it to stuff like the F-4Ss, the F-4J, the F-16 that you'll see a lot of the time, and also the F-14, which all have way better radars and also way better missiles than you. So the R3R will actually put you into places which will just get you killed. So don't bother with those. What you need to focus on is the R13 and the R60s. Now, stock, this thing actually is very fast, which is great. It can go incredibly quick in a straight line. It also gets access to 2 R60Ms and also 2 R3Rs. So you can technically use the R3Rs if you want to, but they're just not very good. Instead, what you should do is you should plow down the missile line as quickly as you can, while also getting some of the flight performance upgrades and of course the flare and the chaff, and get yourself the R13M, then the R60M. What I found on this vehicle works the best is 2 R13M1s and then 4 R60s. Basically the R60Ms on the outer pylons and the R13s on the inner ones. The R13 missiles are not all aspect, but they are very good rear aspect missiles. They have something that the R60s don't have, which is range. The R60Ms are very short range compared to a lot of other missiles, and they actually have a bit of flare kind of resistance. The R60s and the R60Ms nowadays have pretty much no flare resistance, so even if somebody fires one countermeasure, your missiles are missing. So to have the option to have something which is a little bit longer distance for a missile, especially if you play this thing correctly, which is go to the side of map, stay low, wait for the engagement, hit on the side with your speed, and then hammer through with the missiles, and then go to the other side, and then reset if you need to. Then the R13s and also the R60s work very well in tandem. The R3Ss are worthless at this BR, and so are the R3Rs. So, as you can see from an IR complement, this vehicle is very good, which is why if you get down-tiered into 10.7 or 10.3, which is mainly IR heavy, it is actually really easy to do well in this thing. But if you get up-tiered, you get creamed, because you can't get close to a lot of targets if they're looking at you. You can't get close to an F-4S anymore. You can't get close to something like an F-14 because their radars are a lot stronger in this update, and also the multipathing effect has basically meant that you can't even go anywhere near them. So you have to hope that vehicles don't look at you, and if they do look at you, you have to turn away, and if you don't have the engine modification, and if you don't have the G-suit modification, you are going to struggle at moving around that. But I will say, by the time you're about 40% of the way through researching this vehicle, it does come alive, because you do have the armament and you do have the speed after turning that you need. This thing is very fast, even stock in a straight line, but the problem is once you turn, you lose all of that speed. Once you get the boosters, once you get the engine, the G-suit, all of these things, it starts coming alive, and it starts being useful in more of a dogfighty way, which can bail you out against a lot of these heavier machines which can't turn as well. And the other part that has to also be noted about this machine is as you get those upgrades, your vehicle starts to fall apart. This is one of those vehicles that if you just leave it at 110% of your thrust, so with the Afterburner active, it will rip itself apart. So a lot of the time you actually have to leave it at 105% before you engage in the battle. It also does get a drop tank, so you can take a little bit less fuel. Usually I took around 30 minutes, that worked the best for me, with the drop tank as well. So you can get up to speed, and then you can hold it at 105% throttle, and then when you engage, you hit that 110% to give you that little extra energy. But if you end up just putting it at 110%, your plane's wings are going to fall off. It's very similar to the Sea Meteor in that way, and it's very similar to a lot of other vehicles in that way, so you just have to be a bit careful. So it is a boom and bust vehicle, and sometimes there'll be days where you get super lucky. You have a fantastic time with it, and everything goes really well, because you'll be mainly facing 10.7 and 10.3, stuff like F-5Cs, stuff like F-5Es. Like right now, with the sales going on, you're probably going to have a great time. But the moment that you get into the higher matchmaking, which is, of course, the matchmaking of stuff such as the F-4S, the F-14, the MiG-23 stuff like that, you're going to really start struggling, and that is where the problem is. The vehicle itself, I played 66 battles in it, 125 air kills, 43 deaths, so a 3-to-1, basically playing the playstyle that I outlined earlier, but the problem was a 42% win rate, because a lot of the time, when I had engaged into the battle, there was nothing left of my team. They had run in and got killed by semi-actives or active radar homing missiles. But that is just the case of playing anything that isn't America around these BRs right now. And it's unfortunate, it's sad, but there's nothing you can really do about it. Hopefully in the future, something will go on and we'll get some BR changes, and this thing can be the monster that it is. But the problem is, you can't move it in BR. If you move this thing down in BR, it will take over the game. But if it stays at its current BR, it feels absolutely horrific, even with, the decent KD and all of those things. So you just have a weird situation for the BIS, and I feel like it's going to stick in here for a long time. The thing that would help it the most is stuff like the F-14s, which need to go up in BR, go up in BR. As always, I hope you have a wonderful day, and I'll see you next time. I'd just like to thank GMG Smiley, CD Beans, Chieftain Mike, EMN3 Galaxy, Tulio Pontecorvo, Brendan Quinn, Carrion Crow, Gus Irenicus, Pyman, Wartinder, Teddy, Daniel Stanton, Martinez, B. Young, Ozzy Panzer, Alan Hacker, Liam Shear, Opium Prime, Lafouche, Sem, Aslan, Uncle Bean, and Derek R. for supporting the channel.